I'm going to mute myself so they can record.
Hello all, welcome to today's S&A meeting. We have a pretty packed, sorry, I didn't call this meeting to order. I call this meeting to order at 5:04 p.m. We have a pretty packed schedule today, so let's get started. Is there a motion to approve today's agenda?
Motion to approve today's agenda.
Is there a second?
So,
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the agenda is approved. Next is the approval of the meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
motion to approve last week's meeting minutes.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving last week's meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, meeting minutes are approved. Next is reports, starting with the chair, I have none. Advisors?
I just an update on your supplemental funding budget. It's on what we have received that you'll be deliberating on today. The request exceeds the amount available by $3,911. And we did get a response. It was sent. I know I will on this. I thought I had sent Joel the request for the ASCW dumping and the career services. Better late than never.
Thank you. All right, ACWU,
No updates at the moment.
thank you. Seeing that there is no communications received, I'll make my first call for public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing that there is none, we'll move forward with new business, starting with supplemental request. 2507 DSC, you have the floor.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I thought it was one stone you did. Yeah.
Have this for reference.
Yes.
And this, and then
Thank you.
things you wanted up.
Yeah, if you want to pull up the new one I submitted yesterday. It's literally just one slide, so. And yeah, I'll just summarize, I'll just start with my kind of summary, so, hi everyone, I'm Justin, I'm a program manager for the DEC and advisor for the Equity and Service Council. So as I'm sure y'all will recall, back in November, I believe, we requested some supplemental funds to help us cover just some needed costs to be able to hire both of our positions and keep our programming afloat. So we've done a really good job with that, and we were able to hire Salima and some really great stuff with that. So now we're at the end of the year, and we have been able to make up some of that, some of our kind of do some savings through our salary savings, because not both positions did not work their full 20 hours a week necessarily each week. However, toward the end of the year, as our orgs have been wrapping up, a lot of them had signature events. I'm sure some of you all went to them. This quarter, we had about 8 to 10 of them. And so now, as of last week, I started to kind of wrap up those financial reports, and a lot of those organizations were very under budget, which was great. They got last minute sponsorships and things like that. And what we basically did was around mid-May, we called for one more round of funding requests so that the orgs could just, we want to encourage them to use their $3,500 allocation. Typically what usually happens every year is that I just recommend that they do put that money toward increasing their promotional swag and things of that nature, so that they can be set up and successful at the start of the fall quarter of the following year, so that they can have stuff to promote to the first years and have retention and things of that nature. And usually that manifests in the form of hoodies and t-shirts and apparel and things like that. So a lot of them, quite a few of them, BSU, Equal, ESC as well, the executive team meeting with our programming budget, had submitted quite a few things through vendors such as Custom Ink and Vistaprint and Shirtworks. However, I encountered challenge where I was made aware of a policy that I didn't know existed. That apparently all apparel graphic requests have to be conducted through the publicity center. And again, I unfortunately was not made aware of that policy or when that policy was implemented right up until the end of this quarter. So it did not give me an opportunity to let the the org leaderships know to kind of work to understand that process. And with the deadline for purchasing card deadlines coming up very quickly, literally next week, it's and because these are custom apparel, it has made that process extremely difficult to be able to honor those requests. However, because we're talking about a little over $4,000 worth of merchandise, and this doesn't tend to this isn't one for one including sales tax or like bulk discounts and things like that. But what I'm basically requesting today is to ask for a little bit more time to understand what that process is, try to work with the university relations, and also have the incoming org leadership have more time to be able to work with Publicity Center to make sure that their graphics are in compliance. So this money does not just go to waste, and they are able to still enjoy these hoodies and t-shirts and things like that they requested. So my request is just to have the allocation that was awarded to us be repurposed into the summer term and basically starting the next fiscal year, so that I can take the summer and not be rushed and panicked and all these things, and working with the org leadership so that they can take their time, really do it right the first time, work with the publicity center if that is indeed the policy, so that they can have their graphics made in compliance with university branding standards. And those sorts of materials. So again, some examples here. The SU requested some end of the year hoodies, but they just say Black Student Union on them. Equal had also initially requested things for Pride shirts, but I spoke with them today and they're thinking about just having t-shirts that either say Equal on it or just kind of more general that are not tied to a specific event, just so that they can again start off the fall quarter and really have an opportunity to recruit new members and stay visible on campus. So that's basically it. Short and fast. Question. I can say question. Are there questions? Thank you.
Let me just understand.
Sure.
So people are not ordering?
I had submitted the orders through Custom Ink. However, some of these vendors have sort of like an automatic process where they have to reach out to the university relations to have the graphics approved, which I always knew, and they'll always ask me questions like, is this going to be given out for free? How does payment work? And in fact, that was again part of my shock is that a lot of these have been ordered multiple years ongoing in the past, but I had submitted the orders, I had paid for them, and then I just kept getting denied over and over again. And so I just, I just don't have the time. I didn't have the time and capacity this quarter because of the 8 signature events that I'm trying to purchase stuff in time for end of year celebrations that we still have 2 more this Saturday, to just like really sit down and be able to understand how to like do this in time. So hence why I am requesting the extension so that I can kind of find out what's going on.
So this is already in essentially the ESC's budget, it's just being extended.
Well, it was awarded to us. The supplemental funding was awarded to us by this committee in November, just for a different purpose. And because we have been able to use to make up a little bit of that money because of salary savings and things like that, I'm asking that the money now be repurposed toward the use of this apparel to increase recruitment and promotion of these organizations on campus.
I'm gonna just add that the current budget report shows that you'll be underspent by 11,000. So even reallocating this will still provide some money going back to S&A. And I have one clarifying, is it mostly for all of us who are at some point going to be in your vote trying to order it? Was it Publicity Center or is it the public affairs?
I was I wish I brought a printout of what the email had said, but the vendor, the vendor told me that university relations kicked it back because I did not work with the Publicity Center.
And
Yeah, Lola,
make a
please.
comment? So this is a new policy. We haven't yet had the opportunity to talk with the marketing and communication, so it was a little bit of a surprise to us too. Because if we had known, we would have been very proactively reaching out and saying, okay, new ball game, let's get together, whatever. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice to have time to figure that out moving forward.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much for that presentation. Next is going into old business deliberation and voting, starting with supplemental requests from the observer. Yes. These work together, correct? Give me one to Robert's rules this one. Would you all prefer to do them all like how we did? Because there's a lot. To do the like how we did, what's it called? The base funding where we did the debate and then we closed the debate and then made a recommendation and voted on a recommendation, or just go right to you and to. Just this one or all of the supplemental requests? Oh,
Just be.
okay. All right, give me one moment. Okay.
Pretty sad.
So Robbie, it looks like we're gonna do all of the supplemental requests like how we did base funding. Is that okay? Or are you gonna
Talk about vote on it, go through, talk about, vote on each one, or are you gonna do it all together?
I think also.
And vote on all.
Oh, no. Separate ones. Okay. All right, is there a motion to open debate on Pulse and the Observer supplemental requests? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, the floor is open.
Do we know, how much, because it says, that the new request. Or it says that it's for student hourly pay and printing costs, do we know like the breakdown of? How much is for what? Oh,
The observers asked for printing and for staff salaries. And then conference included staff salaries and conference.
They mentioned they're trying to get. Figure out different sources, and even know how much their contract says they have to print, and then how much. Okay, so when Folsom Observer presented, they were speaking about finding different printing options where it can even out the amount of copies that are left and the amount of copies that they have to order on their contract.
My biggest question still is if their class is tied to this budget in any way. Because can this class survive without S&A funding? If it can't, then I don't think we should be allowed to fund the trip.
My understanding is the conference had almost no tie to the classes. And neither did the wages, as they kind of mentioned that they are pulling away from the classes and changing that. And by the time fall hits around when this budget will be allocated, that would be changed. So that is my understanding. So my interpretation is they do fall under the Killeen guidelines and they could be funded.
I would like to point out that the advisor, Polson Observer, is here. Here, if you're happy to answer that question for you.
Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Like to ask? There's one else to ask.
Great. Would you be able to answer that question for us?
What was the question? Sorry.
If the staff wages that we're funding for this in the conference, if they're tied to the class in any way?
No, so starting in the fall, we're going to make it optional for students with paid positions to enroll in the class if they need the credits or opt out of the class. They'll still come to the class period because we function as a newsroom, so we do a lot of work in the classroom. But they won't be required to take the class for credits.
Thank you.
I'd also like to make mention just for all of our requests today, remember that these are supplemental requests. So these are reimbursement only. So if numbers are, like Marisol spoke to printing, if the Polson Observer are able to find less, so the printing costs, that's what they will be reimbursed for. That will be done with Aaron and their business manager.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's for 5 weeks into the quarter.
Yeah, so we filed this supplemental request on the understanding that this would be out of, whatever you guys had left over this year, and that in the fall we'll be coming back, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of us, but we'll be coming back to put in a request. So this is why we're calling it bridge financing. So it's basically just to get us through the end of October.
I think they mentioned there's gonna be 2 people out of each section. I think when they did their presentation, they mentioned going 2 members out of each, like,
Three.
what would it cost if there was 1 in each section, or is that what it is right now?
Is broken down with 6 students to it.
3 students. 6, so like that.
Oh, I can answer that if you want. It's just a little over 1,000 per student. So if you were to need to bring that cost down, but wanted to fund some students to go to the conference, that would be about the range. So 3,150.50 is what we're estimating for 3 students. So we were going to send 3 for each publication.
Is it still in the course expectations for students in a class to output the newspaper as well?
That's what the class does. So the class is, students learn the basics of news reporting, and publication design, photography for publications as well, videography for web, etc. So all of those skills, we practice those in the classroom, and students are putting together material and reporting stories each week, or throughout the course of the quarter for Pulse.
And a follow-up question, thank you. Do you think that S&A fees should go to those 5 weeks of printing, given that it's in the course expectations?
It's not in the course expectations necessarily to print. it's in the course expectations to create a print product. But the actual printing is not necessarily in our curriculum, if that makes sense. I don't know that we would need our design staff if we weren't going to be designing a print product. So, it's obviously a part of the expectation when people sign up for the class. But my understanding is that the paid positions are the ones that are the concern for this committee. And the paid positions are limited to kind of leadership staff for each of those areas. So we have leadership staff for editorial, leadership staff for photography and videography, and leadership staff for graphic design. Those are the paid positions.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I had a question. Do you know, so I'm assuming it would be leadership students would be the, 2 students from each publication that would be sent, right? Or, sorry, I was just assuming that, but.
Yeah, so we try to send leadership students to conferences because they're the ones who will come back and kind of lead the next students coming behind them and kind of mentor the students coming behind them. So, and we usually try to send people who we know will be at the publication for at least the rest of the year. So the fall conference, which is the big national one, those students, the expectation is they'll stay with the publication through spring of next year.
And if less was funded, what would that look like for if only 2 for each publication could go, or 1? Well, I guess what would that look like for your staff?
To be frank, we're gonna take what we can get because we're hoping to send as many students as we can. If the funding's just not there, we can't. I will say these conferences are absolutely astounding in terms of the training opportunities that students get. We sent students to DC a couple of years ago. They got to see Woodward and Bernstein talk, which is, I mean, to die for if you're a journalism student, they come back just with all kinds of new ideas to really improve these publications, which I think serves the whole campus. So it's really a valuable experience. So my hope is to send as many students as we can. If I can only send 1 from each publication, I'll still be grateful to send the 1.
You're doing great, by the way.
Yeah.
I have another question. It was for my last question about printing. So in the request, it says that printing is $4,926. And then in Concord for the curriculum, I think that's what it's called. It says students have to produce a weekly newspaper and hard copy. So if the expectation is to produce a hard copy, should S&A be funding the printing costs to produce those hard copies?
We'd have to change the expectation if we don't have S&A funding. There's no way we can cover that cost. I don't know where the money would come from. So, that could be something that we need to look into. You guys might know that making changes in curriculum takes about a year to a year and a half. So what's in there now has been in there for more than a decade, probably. We're willing to make changes as necessary to what's in the curriculum as the class evolves and as the funding situation evolves. Yes, I still think it's appropriate because it's a product that serves the whole community. And the class will, it'll keep going on without the print publication. It will be a much impoverished version if we don't have paid staff to really work on top of those credit hours to create this publication. And we have a design staff at Observer right now of 6 or 7 students, and same at Pulse.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
It's just a couple or which left we have.
Oh. The current requests are about 4,000 over what we have.
Gotcha.
But let me log in to answer their actual question.
Sure, let's have 68 times total.
Four is what you have bill. 64.
I have no clue.
Total requests are 68. Yeah.
I remember the question. So if you said that it takes a year for the catalog to be updated, how can we expect that those changes will be made in the fall when the funding will be dispersed?
What's the change? What's the concern exactly? Is that the course talks about a print product, but the print product is not funded by the course?
Yeah.
I mean, does this committee think that that needs to be addressed? So I think that would be an issue that I would bring back to the department. I would ask them to make that change in curriculum, and we would go through the process. I've never done it myself, but as I understand it, it goes through various committees. Maybe somebody in the room can help me here, but it goes, yeah.
Yeah, so I can kind of help with this. So with curriculum changes to a system, it starts with the department chair. From there, it goes up to the dean, to my understanding. Once the dean of the college essentially looks at it, then from there, I believe one of two things could happen. If it's a new program, it goes through faculty senate, so they have to kind of like decide if they want to or not. Or if it's an adjustment, to my understanding, the dean has the authority to do that. I do know the COG is getting a new dean right now. They are transitioning out of their current dean and into a new dean. So I'm not really sure where the current process would look like right now with the new transition. So my guess is it would go to department chair, go to the dean, and then probably to faculty senate. And they would have to then decide, do they want to see it changed, essentially? Because they're the ones who have the power to create new programs here on campus and take them away. So my guess is, to my understanding of the process, they have the same power to modify it. And faculty senate only meets once a month. So if they were due this quarter, they would have to do it tomorrow's meeting, essentially. They don't normally meet during summer, to my understanding, so it would not be able to get really super addressed until fall, when the new faculty senate comes in. If that provides the clarification that you need.
Can I add something? And correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but I think that what S&A has historically funded is the actual printing. Where it sounds to me that maybe this is referring to, and I am not a journalist or anything like that. But actually creating, so the class is creating the articles and the stories, but the actual printing that like goods and services piece of doing the actual paper and ink is like you could create a digital version of that of some sort in the class, like create your paper, but to actually publish it, those costs are separate from the class. And that's how I've kind of understood it in the past, that the class creates the content and the fee creates the printed publication.
Yeah, I appreciate that distinction. And, there's actually, if this is helpful, there's no guarantee that if you're in the class, you're gonna create work that will make it into the print publication. That's only the best, most ethically and successfully produced pieces that make it into the magazine at the end of the quarter or the newspaper each week. So a lot of stories get written and don't get published.
Given the time, it is now 5:32, our agenda is packed, so we can either make the recommendation or continue talking, or we can extend the meeting.
Motion to extend today's meeting by 30 minutes. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of extending today's meeting by 30 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the meeting is extended. All right, is there any other discussion?
Yes, I'm thinking that. I muted it, so that was nothing. Hello. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna pull that further away. Lost my train of thought. This is terrible. I was just gonna say that, I feel like now it does fall under the Killian guidelines and, seeing as how much, public outcry there was for when we didn't fund them. I think that this is definitely the proper way that it was done properly, and the funding that they're seeking right now, I think it would be completely justified to fund it, especially with how many students use, this is a resource for a lot of students, and a lot of students, really care about this, publication. And seeing as we do have the budget, I think I would suggest to fully fund Pulse and the Observer just as this, for bridge financing.
Any other discussion?
I would recommend cutting it to 2 people each for both. That would bring costs down to 4,200. Just because we are $4,000 short of the total allocation we have.
And this is a question for the advisors, specifically because we are over by roughly 4,000. Could we not just use reserves for that 4,000? So we don't have to cut any specific program.
We do not have approval officially to spend into reserves, but I do believe that some of the, previously allocated supplemental funding is not going to be used. I'm positive of that, and I think that, if you all were to fund all of these, like essentially over allocate your supplemental funding, I think, there's enough savings within here that would not be.
I think I'm leaning more towards Nick was saying that this does fall under killing guidelines, and then I think we should fully fund both the Observer and Pulse and their bridge financing.
The only other thing that I saw, Robbie, if you'll scroll back up one. One is the deficit coverage. Is that meaning that they are already currently in a deficit? Oh,
So it's hard to say how that will. We saw 2 months.
Any other discussion?
I guess I'm leaning towards 3 students instead of 6.
Any other discussion? Okay, is there a recommendation?
Recommendation to fully fund the West for Pulse and the Observer.
All right, any other recommendations?
I would recommend funding 4 out of the 6 for 4,200 total.
Any other recommendations?
That's me.
All right. The current recommendation, or the first recommendation, is to fully fund this supplemental request. Second recommendation is to only fund 4 out of the 6, and this is for the salary.
For truck.
The truck.
I'm fully fine funding the.
All those in favor of fully funding this Pulse and Observer supplemental request, please say aye. All those opposed? Thank you. All those abstaining? All right, it looks like that. Wait, Robbie or Aaron? Is it, should we also do the second recommendation as well? That wasn't sure. All right. Next is the recommendation to fully fund the paid salaries, but only send 4 out of 6 for travel. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Abstaining. All right, it looks like the recommendation to fully fund Pulse and the Observer is Passed. Next is the civil mutual request, KCWU. Is there a motion to open debate? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So it's KCW.
Great, all those in favor of opening debate, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
My thoughts on this budget request. I think it's fully fair that we fund this. They're already doing a lot with little to no help from students. They still have a lot of more events that are guaranteed, not to mention others that they might come up with. So I feel like fully funding this and the amount of students that it will impact is fully justified.
Any other discussion?
I think they mentioned events like orientation and other summer events, and then tabling sessions and all that, so I feel like that does. I'm not sure if the word would be directly or indirectly impact, like also retention.
Any other discussion? All right, is there a recommendation?
Recommendation to fully fund KCWU request.
All right, any other recommendation? All right, the current recommendation is to fully fund this supplemental request. All those in favor, please say aye. The ayes have it. All right, is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate.
Yes, sir. All those in favor, please say aye. The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next is Mobile City Center. All those in favor of opening debate on Mobile City Center, please say aye. The ayes have it, the floor is open. Is there any discussion?
My thought process on this is that I would be willing to fund the 13,500, but not the 20,000. Simply because it falls further into the academic year. We're already gonna have a committee by then. They can come back and ask for that supplement later.
I answered these last meeting, so. Last meeting. I can find it, but.
It's any other discussion?
What? Just based off of what I was seeing on the screen. Just a question.
I don't know this one thing.
Any other discussion?
Do you wanna go back?
Wait, yeah, can you just scroll up for a second? So. I don't remember my question, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
does seem reasonable to do fall quarter. And then it would be like, it would be in time to come in for more funding, like see how did fall quarter go, when we see the same numbers in our winter, and then do we need more money or is it going to be covered?
Now, so I'm wondering if the funding for the winter and spring quarters, I guess I'm wondering if that additional 7,000 is, because I know sometimes when you schedule things in advance, you can get deals on stuff. And things could be at a lower cost, and I'm wondering if that 7,000 is kind of, if it costs more money to request later on, and then like if they do come back later on, they're gonna be requesting more than 7,000 because they weren't able to schedule it in advance. Is I guess my only wonder if we don't fund that 7,000 right now.
Yeah, it won't be more. I mean, because we wouldn't schedule it until probably 2 months before it's printed is when we would go to the printer and say, hey, we have this job coming up, and then they provide us with what the cost is gonna be. And so if it was gonna go over that, we would just reduce the number that we would print. But I personally think that it's the smart move is just to do the fall quarter and they can come back for winter and spring.
And I would add that if we started funding things for, then nightmare for me, but then, we're gonna have a whole nother sort of, problem on our hands because we can't really fund everybody for the next year. Yeah, that's a good point. That's amazing.
I would agree with Aaron that we should keep it limited to fiscal year if possible. So I get asking for up to like October because it won't have to be ready by then. So I would say we wait on the winter and spring quarters for here.
So we're gonna keep it at 13,500.
Any other discussion? Okay, is there a recommendation?
Right, that 13,500.
Any other recommendation? All right, the current recommendation is to approve the spending request or the supplemental funding request up to $13,500. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Is there a motion to, is there any other discussion? Is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of closing debate, please say aye. The ayes have it, floor is closed. Next is supplemental request from Slice. Is there a motion to open debate?
Motion to open debate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on Slice supplemental request, please say aye. The ayes have it, the floor is open.
This request is for 11,000 total. For summer projects. 5,000 for pre-fall and boarding.
This one, I think it has some aspects that are really important because they're trying to do more tracking directly into the clubs. And then they also have student organizations and they're learning a new, like they're now doing suitable instead of the platform they were on. So we're gonna see more tracking data and then I want to say that'll impact next year when they come and present again. It'll give us more of an idea of where they're at, where students are using their resources.
Any other discussion? Okay, is there a recommendation? Is there any other discussion?
I'm just looking at the thing.
Doug? Maybe you go down.
So I don't have an issue fully funding this. Mostly because they want 2 to 3 student positions, totally fine, they have the. I'm assuming based on the full 20 hours that students would be able to work. I know most students are in summer, work the full 20 hours, especially at school. So this would be a maximized cost, there's probably would be a lower cost than what we're getting. I think that goes for most of these follow-up ones as well. Because all of them are for student funding over summer. You got that, yeah. Well,
Any other discussion?
And then for me too, it's like, I wouldn't wanna go into reserves, but that's super getting stuff like that. Some things particularly. Like an issue with this and saying I don't.
How many students were in training like this onboarding project last?
Zero. Correct. 0 students last summer.
During the summer, 0 students.
Yeah, for onboard, correct.
For onboarding, students did come in early, but
It was like a week,
they were all new.
yeah, okay, fair.
Like 5 students. What would it look like if there were only 5 students? How would that impact? For the onboarding? Yeah. Then you would only have half the students getting the benefit of. Yeah, well, it wouldn't be applicable, I guess, and then they wouldn't be ready for the, welcome stuff either.
Any other discussion? I would say discussion, I was like. All right, is there a recommendation? All right, is there another recommendation? Okay, the current recommendation is to fully fund. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Is there a motion to close debate? Sorry, is there any discussion? Yeah. Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, of closing debate, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next is supplemental request, ACWU. As our motion to open debate.
Debate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of opening the floor for ACWU supplemental request, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
I think this kind of falls into the previous slides. This is for student wages over summer. Kind of gets everyone on board with, make sure those trainings overlapping. Serves the students, everyone's gonna be more knowledgeable on the board. So I have no issue with work on it.
As well.
I concur.
I like it. Ask,
Hi.
hi, Hondo. Currently, your budget is budgeted to be underspent by about 23,000. Do you expect that to be anything different? I'm asking because that was your, previous supplemental, and as we're kind of trying to determine how much unspent supplemental there will be, then this will factor into that.
Whose budget?
The Senate budget.
So this is, so but this particular request is not for Senate. My understanding from,
Board of Directors,
yes, this is, so this is not for the senators.
right?
This is specifically to allow the six incoming board of directors. So senators' terms can't even start until September, once fall court starts anyway. This is specifically for the six board of directors who will be able, who already budgeted to work for summer, to work additional hours. From my understanding from Vice President Villa, our budget shifts, I believe, the 21st or 22nd to the new cuts. If I'm misunderstanding,
The new board starts the 16th.
16. So when is our new budget start? Yeah, so at least from my perspective, it will change. Because we won't have those
Okay.
funds, but we don't have the plans to spend any of those, like, I'm just now learning about that honestly from the Senate side, but this request hasn't.
Like right now in real time.
Right, that's something I'm working with Vice President Villa, but this
Okay.
particular request is specifically for the new board. When they start on the 16th.
Right.
To come in and instead of working 10 hours a week, it's the budget allowing them to work 20 hours, specifically because we have five of the six are brand new to the BOD. In addition to that, also having to work with the new advisor who just started to help the new advisor also kind of transition into the role as well, to kind of provide that clarification. I hope that
So-
answers your question.
So just to confirm, there, you don't think that there will be, any, like, you do agree that there will be a significant amount coming back from the Senate budget? From the Senate supplemental? That we already have. So what I'm showing is that there's 23,000 that's coming back from the Senate, and that plays into the amount of supplemental that is available, because some of that is supplemental funding for fully funding the senators. And so it's kind of just a double question, because they're looking at over allocating their supplemental funding, and so I want to make sure that as we're looking at money coming back that's allocated but not spent, this ASCBO budget plays into that.
I would have to consult with Vice President Villa, as he's the one who specifically oversees the budgets. To my understanding, there's no major expenses coming out of the Senate's budget.
Okay.
We have purchased some of like the merch, like the polos for some of the senators.
Yeah.
For only the senators that have been appointed into the new
Okay.
positions. But to my understanding, we don't have any major purchases that will be coming out of specifically of the Senate's budget. To this year, to my understanding. If that changes, then obviously that's something between me and Vice President.
No, for sure. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Is there a recommendation?
Recommend to fully fund the ASCWU.
Just, any other recommendations? All right, the current recommendation is to fully fund. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right, and then we have. Looks like that recommendation is 5-0 to 1. Is there a motion to close debate?
Motion to close debate.
Is there a second?
Second. It's now again.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of closed debate, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Next is the open to request from the ESC. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Motion to recess?
The 5-minute recess.
Yes, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Sorry, I was trying to steamroll this a little bit.
I appreciate it.
Okay, all those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess, please say aye. The ayes have it, we'll reconvene at. What's time is it?
6:02.
6:02.
All of the, I think it's the same.
Also, all right, welcome back, everyone. It is now 6:02. I call this meeting back to order. Order, please. Order.
This is Eli's last.
Yes. Okay, anyways. Was there a motion to open debate on the EDC budget?
Motion open debate.
Is there a second?
I'll say it.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of opening debate on ESC supplemental requests, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the floor is open.
So my thoughts on this, they already have money, they just wanna move it to another area, I don't see an issue with them.
I previously. For same ground, so. Change my mind.
This is the one that was presented today. This is good.
Any other discussion? All right, is there a recommendation?
Recommend to allow ESC to transfer their budget to a different area.
Is there a second? Oh, sorry. Is there another recommendation?
Can I don't know if this isn't friendly, but it would be a, bringing it forward to the next year. 'Cause,
That's, yeah,
That's.
that's my mistake.
I knew what I was
I
saying.
knew what you were saying too.
Any other recommendations? All right, the current recommendation is to allow the EFC to transfer the budget
Is the fall.
following year.
$4,000, or is it the 43,
43,
3250? So 43, 32.
$43,000.
No.
Well, wait.
Just be very happy.
What is the number?
43, 32. And 50 cents. Really? Okay, so.
Yeah, all those in favor, please say aye.
I.
Ayes have it. It passes 5-0. Oh. All right, is there any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to close debate? Is there a second? Second that. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of closing debate, please say aye.
I.
Right. Floor is closed. So currently our recommendations look like Pulse and Observer, fully fund, KCWU, fully fund, publications, fund up to 13,500. Slides fully fund, ASCWU fully fund, and ESC allow the transfer of 4,332 dollars and 50 cents. All right, is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
Motion to approve the recommendations on the document.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? Yes.
Should I technically abstain because it includes?
Yeah. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving this docket, please say aye.
I.
The ayes have it, that motion passes 5-0 to 1. Well done.
Yeah. We still have the.
Oh, yes, we're going with alternate.
All right, next thing is S&A policy changes for review.
Okay, so after all the discussion, last week, not yesterday, last week, Aaron and I had the ability to sit down and did some research about how other institutions run their S&A committees and things like that. So here's what we came up with. So what we provided you were the track changes of the document. Most of them were changed by the committee in April of 24, so a little over a year ago. but Erin and I did update a few things like student ASCW SG was student government. We think it needs to be ASCW Board of Directors, so that was just a verbiage change throughout the document. If you turn to page 2 of 9, at the very bottom, B3 under public comments, we did add just a general comment you all made was that the committee advisors at their discretion may limit public comment to ensure it does not interfere with the published meeting agenda. Again, so that other business can continue to be conducted. The other changes in red are mostly that we don't have a dean of student success anymore, so just changing the title over to Vero's position, which is the vice president of student engagement and success. Is technically we all report up to her, and I serve as her designee as the advisor. That's where you see that and designee, that's me. Let's see. Under page 4 on the top here, where it talks about S&A annually, it talks about S&A fee changes, excuse me. So this was a committee change from 2024 where we wanted to not increase the S&A fee more than tuition is being increased at the same incremental, so no more than 4%. And then under base funding allocation procedures, this is where we got a lot of feedback from you all as well as the funding departments about making our procedure a little bit more clear. And as I mentioned, I did some research and think we came up with a pretty good solution. So you can see here, we're still going to solicit for funding requests through the through student media as a requirement for new funding opportunities. Okay, that will be done every 4 years. And then the submission for funding requests is no different. They'll be notified, they'll have to submit their reports no later than December 1st. That gives Erin and I time where everybody's gone for break to put everything together, set the plan, set the schedule. And then this is where we talked about the committee review changes. So you will hear base funding requests no later than the 3rd week of winter quarter. Again, how we started this year. And then we added in, there's 10 minutes for presentations, 10 minutes for questions. We reserve the right to recall a presenter and provide additional information or clarity to answer further questions, which I think helps. We also decided on another process, which I believe was suggested by one of our funding areas and is done in other S&A committees at other institutions, is that so once we hear all of the presentations, you all will make a first draft recommendation. We will allow all the base funded areas to act, we will share it with them. 1 week later, we will host our normal public meeting and we will allow anybody who would like to come and speak at that meeting based on the first draft recommendations you all make can do so. Then we have the ability to then make change based on new or additional information. And then we submit a final recommendation through Nick's position or Nick's predecessor, and they will take that to the ASCW public meeting. And then after that, it would then be shared with Vero and CWU administration, and the process goes from there. So that's the addition, is that we would have now a very clear first draft, share it with everybody, invite them for their comments. Then you all can make the decision on whether you want to make any change, and then we would submit our final recommendations. And they still have to go through the same channels. Still through student government, still up through CWU administration, still notify the PBAC, and finally land at the Board of Trustees at the end of May. The other document I want to share with you, this is just a draft, so no one hold me to this. I took our schedule from last year and put it into the winter quarter 26th schedule to see if we could do it. We can do it. It does mean that S&A meetings are probably going to be 2 to 2.5 hours a week in order to get through all of the funding presentations to meet our deadlines that we've outlined in the procedure, but we can do it. Okay, so it does mean a long winter. But what else are you doing at nighttime and when it's dark outside, right?
That's a great point.
Okay, so then under the administrative review, again, just changes specifically, I did make a mistake, Farrah pointed out, Nick's position has not changed to the executive vice president, so I'm going to fix that. He is just the ASW VP. So my apologies, I know that, right? And then the only other thing that the other big change besides just normal title changes is page 5. Under supplemental funding procedures, there was something that was removed, which is new programs. We don't, because of the changes that were made in previous committees, we don't allow new programs that are not traditionally base funded to ask for supplemental. In previous committees, any club or org could come up and say, we want money for this, this, or this. And the S&A committee could hear them out and fund that. And that was changed quite a few years ago. So we just wanted to remove that Section D here, and then just number everything else. What is everybody's thoughts, questions, concerns?
I think you hit major one, you know, which was limiting public comment that was necessary. Keeps us from.
Yeah. We're able to provide that, but then be able to conduct business.
So did we say we kept, if you receive base funding?
Correct, correct, just not new programs. So for instance, if the I Love Hot Dog Clubs wanted to come and ask for money for a hot dog feed off, they wouldn't be allowed to because they're not traditionally base funded.
I had something. I don't know if we could add it or if it's in a different space that it lives in. But not only that we have public comment put in there, they can also do like communications received, so we can mail, make that more transparent.
Okay. I will scan through here.
I love that, that's not in all.
Right.
As
As we're, yeah, and I think Aaron and I agree that there were a few things in here, you know, my next goal would be to set a timeline for myself and for Aaron. So, you know, at the beginning of, we're gonna tell everybody by the end of next week, based on the board of trustee changes, which I think might help Marisol is, so you all know, we watched the board of trustees, that the recommendation is everybody's funded for 1 year. So that means, every base funded area we approve, not just the ones that have their funding cut or were defunded, everybody has to pre-present next year. So I think that part of me communicating to everybody here in the next week, I would like to do it before commencement, is making them realize that because of that board of trustees decision, everybody will be asked to do this process again. And I think it's a great way for me to reiterate the process of communicating with the committee.
Yeah, I like the changes you made here, highlight yellow. I think it's a good balance between kind of allowing for the fuel, but very filtered window, so you don't have like an extremely drawn out process potentially about that. And I think it helps kind of sync things up for me. I like it.
Yes, any questions or concerns?
I think the easiest way to have what Marisol is saying would be. Put it in the public conversation. Should a individual not be able to present their vote, they can reach out via email or other as an.
And it does mention in here that, they do funding areas will have an additional week to provide feedback to the committee or designate by reaching out and being asked to be on the next agenda. So we could just add something, if unable to attend, they can provide feedback towards maybe a patients received. Okay.
Personal patents or presentations.
Yep. Yeah.
That like by this, that by the third meeting, there has to be to present.
So there is a process for that and nope, it exists in here. There isn't, it basically follows the same rules as the committee formation. So that is also on Aaron and I's agenda that we need to reach out to faculty senate and ask for them to appoint folks to S&A. That was done and we just didn't have any faculty sign up. So we will do that process again and ask for faculty representation for our policy. But if they don't sign up, we can't force them to do it.
One of the challenges that we've heard, is that it's a very huge time commitment, as you all are very aware. 3 hours, 16 hours, yeah.
We may find that in light of some of the things we've changed and in light of some of the conversation we've had this spring, that we may have faculty representation.
And clarify they're non-voting.
Correct, yes.
And that should be on page 2, section 4. It is 3 of the non-voting committee members.
Then I just have a quick question. In student equipment, it says that
First off, it's, that's the executive vice president of this might be on top. I think, you know, but it also says that in. The ACWS. ACW, but I didn't speak whether you can come here.
Yeah.
The executive director not nomination, is that still right?
That is technically what the policy says, but I don't know that. I can't speak to me, but I don't believe that was done last year either, because I think we were still soliciting for SBA members in fall, so.
Through the big in
Winter, so it should be done at this time. So that's why last week we were talking about if any of you all would like to reserve, it's great to reach out to Nick so that he can pass on to his predecessor. Excellent, thank you. But yes, we should be following that process, similar to registered student workers, right? They should know who they should be doing their thing in spring to be ready to go in fall. So we do need to be better about that timeline. And then everybody knows sees the next one, which is summer. So at this moment, we don't have a need for maybe, but if we did, it would fall to the ASCW board of directors. So I'm assuming with some of the time with their new advisor and next new person, we'll have, Aaron and I will have an opportunity to meet with someone too for some additional training, ready to hit the ground running when we start in the fall.
I wanted to clarify on the faculty. Are they from different areas? They're not gonna be like two from the college of business.
So it does say that they should be from a diverse faculty representation amongst all 4 academic colleges. I don't think that that's always been the case. So I think
Where do you should is what?
yes, correct. It should.
Sorry.
And I think that it, I mean, personally, I think ideally, they would be not areas that are receiving SIA funding. Just to kind of keep that, but that's not really.
It's similar to, I think, your positions in respect of abstaining, even though they're not voting, they can provide perspective and insight and things like that, even if it's towards the college or a college that is being, or a program that's being funded, excuse me, from their area, but they are not. So it still is in the hands of the students. Okay, well, Aaron and I will get rid of the track changes. I will fix the few small typos I apologize for, and then, I believe, make you tell me, I believe we have to vote on it. This is our last meeting of the quarter. Unless you'd like to host another meeting after Robbie changes the track changes and fixes the, because we are not allowed to vote by proxy or by mail, right, policy, so it does have to be done in person. So if you would prefer me to make the edits, send it to you all for final approval, then we would have to have some sort of small convened meeting next week. Or in 2 days or something to get everybody together to vote on. Yeah, we could also do it virtually too, if there's something together. Or. Did you try to make an edit? Fair.
Good. Like we have public comment and
Communications.
communication to students in there.
Having maybe even a 15 really brief online meeting with you, just in case there is any specific language we want to use. Doesn't have to be the full meeting.
Everybody, do you want to look at Monday? I know Marisol
Marisol
said,
on Friday.
oh, Friday.
Yes.
Friday.
Monday, I'm good. I'm super. I'm bored.
Oh, that would have to be at 8 AM or 3 PM or 4 PM. Because we have our SCS gathering, which we cannot meet. Or I'm sorry, it's Monday. So we could do bright and early, 8:30, or we could do 3 or 4. Not do 8 or 8:30. Oh yeah, because you're probably helping with.
I could do it. I could do it at 3. I could do it at 4.
What about 4 o'clock on Monday? 4 o'clock on Monday. Okay. Final, guys.
And you're at 4 o'clock Monday?
Yeah, I finished my mind.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna see back.
I can't.
Okay.
I have a class. Or wait, is it final?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then yeah,
There is no class on
My
that.
bad.
Just do it via Zoom. So I will, first thing in the morning, I'm looking at my calendar, so I'm not overcommitting myself here real quick.
Are they gonna be voting? Then on
Well,
the day?
correct,
Okay.
correct. Yep, we'll put the public meeting out. I have time first thing in the morning, so I will schedule the meeting, get it to Mia, put the agenda together, and then I will edit this and attach it. So then you all can review, make any edits, just reply back to me, and then that way I can have a beautifully finished product for you on the day to vote on.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Next is a public comment. Is there any public comment? Yeah.
I just want to thank you all for your service this year. I know it was like a big commitment. And it was a big lift because this was the year that we had to ask for base funding, a lot of areas had to ask for base funding for next year, so. Y'all did amazing, and I just can't thank you all enough for serving and doing such a great job as a committee. You asked great questions, you were thoughtful, very considerate of everybody when you were making your decisions, and so thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. What? Well, I can't follow that. As usual, I'm in awe of this committee. This is like the highest functioning committee on campus. So.
And last but not least, just a small token of appreciation from us all, you all for all your hard work. So thank you so much. Please consider coming back.
Yeah, and I think, Nick had mentioned if you all are interested in coming back, then be sure to email the CWU Vice President and CC Robbie. And you would notice that in the, policy, there's a talk about, how valuable it is to have students who are familiar with the base funded areas, and I would say there is not a better informed group on campus of the S&A base funding areas than Pittsburgh.
I'm working on emailing. I just have to make sure everything kind of. I don't know. Yeah. But possibly gonna have a new job next year, so Eric. Okay.
I would have, right?
Being coach, as you probably know.
I didn't know, but I figured it out.
So, talking there, but seeing what's gonna work, what's not, gonna work, so seeing what they need.
You could always get a letter and then be like, no thanks.
Lastly, I just want to say, thank you so much for sticking with us. And I know that, like everyone that has been saying, it's a big time commitment, and it's a lot of information, a lot of learning. So I appreciate you guys being here till the very end. It was really fun, and I'm looking forward to doing this year. And yeah. It's no other committee would be like this.
No. You did a really great job. Good here.
Sure you keep the gavel. If necessary.
Don't bring it to orientations. I'll have that to be.
It's like a little chat. Let's go.
All right.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of ending today's meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, this meeting is a close.